Alrighty, I have not read this yet, but a while ago I did a video response on a creator who made this twit longer. And it was called Continuing from My Previous Tweet. And it was basically the one, basically filled to the brim with misogyny towards female VTuber content creators who happen to show real-life pictures of themselves on the internet, calling them e-thoughts and stuff like that. And, well, there's certainly one thing that has happened as a result of that entire arc, but I can't talk about that yet. That's not important. What I can talk about, though, is apparently dude has written an apology. I have not read it. We are going to read it together. But before we do that, fan art section, as per usual. This one is from Carl James. They said, Suris male made with the create a model mode, or create a character mode in DC Universe Online, as well as a Suris female made with the create a character in DC Universe Online. Honestly, I've seen stuff like this done with like Soul Calibur and Mortal Kombat and stuff like that, and I always find it really interesting to see the creative takes on my character that are done with the limited tools given in those character creation programs. So this is nice. That said, as always, thank you for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future episode, the best way to do so is drop it into the fan art section. With that said, let's go ahead and get right into the video after the intro. And now that the intro is done playing, let's go ahead and take a look. I know that people on Twitch are going to have to get used to the fact that we're going to put intros in the middle, but that's in prep for the new logo that's being made by Suzu, the person behind the slime model. But we have an apology thing here. It is decently long, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. I'm not going to be reading it in a terrible voice. Chaos Dragon, Shark Fox Panda, thank you guys for the hosts. We are going to read this straight, because I want to see what this person says. So the apology reads, I don't expect anyone to forgive me, but I decided this apology needed to happen regardless once the fires had died down. I won't bother with the details as they're too personal to belong on Twitter, but due to a variety of circumstances, I was not quite myself this weekend. What I said on Friday night and Saturday morning does not reflect who I am. And I apologize to all my friends and acquaintances for not living up to the expectations that were had of me. Plenty of what I said, particularly the name-calling, was unnecessary, uncalled for, and poorly worded. And unfortunately, any chance of properly conveying my point was undermined by that. So, before we continue, again, this is purely live reaction. I don't know what the rest of the stuff is in there, but here's the thing. What you said in your original tweet, twit longer, reeked of misogyny. And we're going to pull that up right now. And this is not to drag you back down to it, but a VTuber is a virtual character, which is what defines it as its own unique form of content. It boggles my mind how people have trouble with this. All you have to do is put on some semblance of a character and make some form of video content and not post IRL content on main. And then, of course, there was the part where you said, it's shocking how much joy has been sucked out of this interest I've enjoyed for almost 5 years now, literally since the dawn of VTubing by hordes of normies with no clue what it even means to be a VTuber. If you're going to tweet IRL insta-thought pics, not even bother with the slightest semblance of a character, then you're nothing but a room temperature IQ normie who hopped on a bandwagon for clout and simp bucks. Now, I didn't become a VTuber because of the bandwagon, personally, and I don't want to respond too terribly much to the things you said before, as this is an apology. I became a VTuber as a joke, quite frankly. This was a monkey's paw. My audience said they wanted to return to my old Avatar-style videos, and I did that, but I did it in the way that I thought would troll them the most. And then I accidentally ended up stumbling into one of the most wholesome and positive communities that I've ever been a part of. And that's super refreshing, given that I am part of the political, atheist, skeptic sphere of content primarily, which is a notoriously cutthroat area of commentary. So, yeah, when I read this, knowing several friends who I had made at that point who were VTubers who did things like OnlyFans content on the side, or they just happened to post their IRL pics every now and again when they weren't feeling particularly dysmorphic, or anything else. I did take a little offense to that. But let's go back to the apology and see what else was said here. Said, I have no issues with selfies of content creators who stream with face cams. I'm not, as many people have claimed, some sexist, misogynist, insecure incel who's threatened by IRL pictures of women. Never. I simply believe that there's a time and place for it. Once again, regardless of gender, and that VTubing is not it. And Amish Messiah, thank you very much for the follow. So, this part is not an apology. This is you standing by the original claim. Now, granted, you're standing by it with less misogyny than before you made the claims of insta-thought pics and stuff like that, and that's where I started to hold a bit of umbrage. Now you're saying that VTubers can't show their face. Well, I'm sorry, but VTubing can be whatever anyone needs it to be. As long as they happen to be using a character, primarily, then if they show their real face, just have at it. One of the kindest VTubers that I know, Yakazamam, does facecam streams pretty much once a week, where she has her VTube model on and her facecam on at the same time. And I wouldn't say that VTubing is not the place for her to show that. Like, that's her deal. It's how she wants to do her content. You're not the arbiter of that. But let's continue. On a related note, I would encourage people to delete the selfies they posted during this drama, though it's likely too late to make a difference. Not because I dislike them, but rather out of a genuine desire for your well-being. In a handful of 4chan threads that were shared with me, it seems many, if not all, the selfies have been downloaded. I believe Twitter scrapes away date location data from your pictures, but if you have posted the same image on other personal accounts, which some people apparently did, then they can be reverse image searched extremely easily. Oh god, I just ate. I'm terribly sorry. Leading to a potential IRL dox. I doubt anybody will do more than laugh or jack off to them, but it is worth mentioning. To be clear, I had absolutely nothing to do with the creation of any threads, nor any doxing or harassment that may have occurred. So this part of the apology I'm actually a little more okay with, because this shows an actual, genuine understanding of the implications for shit like this for other people. Now, granted, the reason that all of those pictures even got downloaded in the first place was because they were a response to your post, which got viral. That doesn't mean that you have personal responsibility for what happened, but understanding that your post getting the traction that it did, which inevitably led to people posting everything there, you're kind of part of that conundrum. But I do appreciate the part here where you are telling everyone, hey, if you have the ability to, scrub those pictures off, there's always a chance that they will be used to harm you in the future. So, said you should, if you want to, use both your AVA and face for this. I mean, I can briefly. I'm not set up to do both of them at the same time, but I can briefly. I have the ability to do that. I just don't want to for this. I am also not set up to do that. Not with the cam setup that I have right now where I have to physically hold the other camera. But let's go ahead and continue. Says, there is no ruling authority on what exactly defines the term VTuber, and even if there was, it certainly wouldn't be me. In the absence of an official definition, I turn to precedent. The overwhelming majority of VTubers from 2016 until now have a model, whether it is PNG, 2D, or 3D, have some degree of character beyond I'm a person who streams, upload or stream some kind of content, do not post selfies or stream with facecam on their VTuber account, and as far as I'm aware, there are large successful VTubers who may disagree with me publicly, but still fit these fundamental concepts. I wouldn't say I'm a large VTuber, but I would say that I'm probably larger than a good bit of the indie VTubers out there, not because of my VTubing, though, because of my streaming primarily that I was doing before VTubing, so I'm probably not a good person to comment on that specifically. But again, I know several people who do not. They are VTubers, but they don't have a character beyond person who streams. And I know this because there are. I'm not going to name names, but there are VTubers whom I've talked to off air. And for several of them, things that I thought were character traits they had grafted onto their VTuber persona was just how they acted in real life. That's just how they functioned normally. Suris, no text? Oh, sorry. The text is there. I didn't get it. I'm sorry. I'll have it highlighted so anybody can reread it if they want to, because I missed that. This is the problem with me doing live content. I'm sorry. But, again, there are several VTubers I've talked to behind the scenes who do maintain that character, and it's not... And the explanation for that is that it was never a character to begin with. It was just them. Now, they might dial up their character a little bit more when they are streaming, but every streamer does that. Every streamer, for the most part, dials up some of the best or some of the worst fundamental traits of their personality when they get on the camera. It's pretty normal. But, so I would say, yes, having a model is required to be a VTuber. Whether it's a PNG image, whether it's a 2D, live 2D thing, or whether it is a 3D character. I don't think that having some degree of character is required, because the minute you turn on that camera, there will be some degree of character. Period. As for uploading and streaming some kind of video content, yes and no. Because there are people I'd consider VTubers who have models and use them for making content, but the content that they make is not generally videos. It's mostly screenshots and stuff like that, because a lot of what they do is behind-the-scene works for other VTubers. I still would consider them VTubers. Again, don't want to name names here because I don't want to throw anybody under a bus. Not that I'd be throwing anyone under a bus. Point is, the last bit, don't post selfies or stream with facecam on their VTuber account. Again, VTubers larger than me, like Yakuzamom. Yakuzamom's a larger VTuber than I am. Do stream with facecam on their VTuber account. I do not think that last one holds any water. And at least they did point out that there are VTubers who might disagree with them publicly, but will still fit those concepts. But I would not argue that number 4, and to a lesser degree, 2 and 3, have much to do. For me, a VTuber is anybody who does live content of some variety with a model. That's my definition that I've seen. Continuing on, I would like to express my gratitude for the overwhelming support I've received, particularly my friends who supported me despite disagreeing with how I worded things. The vast amount of supportive messages I've received, and the genuinely constructive conversations I've had with people who disagreed with me. But they were willing to discuss. They have exceeded any expectation I could have had, in part because tweeted that with the expectation that I'd have less than a dozen... Oh, in part because I tweeted that with the expectation I had less than a dozen replies. They forgot the I. I'm sorry. Lastly, the fact that something this insignificant has exploded in scope and vitriol, actually past instances of VTuber drama that involve sexual harassment, manipulation, and even IRL pedophilia, is both shocking and frankly disappointing. I'm not sure why certain people believe that death threats, attempt to gain access to my account, password reset spam, and even DMs accusing me of pedophilia were the appropriate action to what was essentially a mean but general complaint. If you're reading this and aren't quite ready to put down the pitchfork, then I encourage you to search around a bit and apply it constructively, as there is at least one case of targeted harassment of a VTuber that currently has a fraction of the attention of my original tweet. As far as I'm concerned, this drama is over and done with. I will not be deleting the tweets I made, as I feel like my mistakes should be preserved so that they can be learned from. With the apology that I waited a week to make now off my mind, I can start enjoying my break. So, while there are still things that were said in this that I fundamentally disagree with, I don't think anybody should be harassing this person. I don't think that anybody should be going after them. Because at the end of the day, this was a thing that was said that was hurtful to people, but it was only that. And on the internet, things that are said that are hurtful to people, that's the internet. That's what we do all the time here. It's not good, but it's there. Is it much of an apology? Not necessarily. There are parts of it that are framed as an apology. The beginning of this, to me, does read as an apology. But it's an apology in the sense that he doesn't disagree with the original things that he said. He disagrees with the wording that he used. So the insta-thought thing and those, I'd imagine, are the wordings that are not there. But here's the thing. This does at least read as sincere. And I would rather the sincere thoughts of somebody, even if I still disagree with them, than an insincere apology that somebody could not actually keep themselves to. GG Raven13, thank you very much for the follow. So, I don't know. Again, I don't think that a whole bunch of hate or anything should be levied at this creator. I don't, and anybody who does that, especially in my name, get the fuck out of my community. But this isn't much of an apology. At least in its entire context. There is a part of it that I do think is, and that is here, where you're upset at the wording that you used. But the actual sentiments that you said in the original post, those all still seem to be here. Especially here. And with the acknowledgement that certain people disagree with you, there doesn't seem to be a reason as to why those people disagree with you. But I'm not going to be following this person's content much more. The only reason that I even found this apology to begin with was that it was brought up in my stream, and so here we are. I'm not going to be covering a whole bunch of VTuber drama, because that's not what my channel's about. But this is apparently the ending of an arc that began on a different video in my channel, and also now has significant channel lore because of Call for an Uprising responding on that video going, I'm going to contact VTube. And that's the reason why we're here, I suppose. But I guess this is where I gotta ask you guys, what do you feel about this apology? What do you feel is here? This is open and up for people to read, so I assume this is also open and up for people to critique, criticize, and comment on. Do not go and try to find the original creator of this. Do not go and attack them, harass them, or anything like that. Keep your comments to this comment section so that if they seek them out, they can find them. But if they want to move past this, it doesn't have to follow them. Fair? With that said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you enjoy my content, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and with all that said, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. If you want access to behind-the-scenes content for the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. I do weekly vlogs over there, where I give real-life updates to what's going on behind the scenes on the channel, stuff that you don't really get over here, and even on Twitch. Patreon also helps the channel's stability a whole lot. Without Patreon, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Especially with the kind of content that I do, neither YouTube nor Twitch are the most stable sources of income. If you are a $20 and up patron, then you will be featured on the ending slides as shown in the beginning of the end credits. If you want to catch the streams where all this content comes from, then consider heading over to Twitch and following. And if you want to continue watching over here on YouTube, maybe consider clicking one of the end screen videos. And once again, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me over on my channel. I wouldn't be able to do literally anything that I'm doing over here on YouTube without each and every one of you. So, thank you.